You stand at the top of a mountain, and in your hand is a single chisel. Below you is solid rock, and your job is to carve a temple out of it. Not to build one stone by stone, to carve one from the top down out of a single piece of the earth. And if you make one wrong cut, there is no putting the stone back. This is your life as an ancient Indian temple builder, a life spent turning mountains into gods. You are born into an India of many kingdoms, many kings, and countless gods. There is no single empire here. Power rises and falls like the monsoon. And every king who wants to be remembered forever builds the same thing, a temple. A great temple is a king's crown, his boast, and his prayer, all carved in stone. It shows his wealth, his power, and his devotion to the divine. So kings compete, each trying to raise something taller and richer than the last. And to turn their dreams into stone, they need people like you, the temple builder, part engineer, part artist, part priest of proportion. In a world with no machines, you and your hands are the only technology there is. So, let's learn the craft from the very beginning. You do not simply decide to become a temple builder. You are born into it. Your family belongs to a guild of craftsmen, a brotherhood of stone that guards its secrets. As a child, you sweep the workshop and carry water while the masters carve. You learn to know good stone from bad by its color, its ring, and its grain. You spend years just learning to hold the tools before you are trusted to strike. The master architect is called the stapati, and his word shapes everything. Another stretches the sacred measuring cord and lays the plan out on the ground. Nothing in a temple is random. Every length and every angle obeys ancient rules. Those rules live in sacred manuals of building, passed down for centuries. They set the proportions of a temple the way Scripture sets the rules of prayer. Get the geometry right, the priests believe, and the divine will consent to live inside. Get it wrong, and you have built nothing but an expensive pile of rock. So, you memorize the rules for years until proportion lives inside your hands. Only then are you ready for the work of a lifetime. Then, one day, the greatest commission of the age arrives. A powerful king wants a temple to the god Shiva, shaped like his sacred mountain home. But he does not want it built. He wants it carved from a single hill of solid rock. This is the temple the world will one day call Kailasa. You will not add a single stone. You will only take stone away. You begin at the top of the hill and cut downward, freeing the temple from the mountain. First, you cut great trenches down into the rock, outlining the temple within. The temple is not made, it is revealed, one hammer blow at a time. There is no scaffolding holding it up, because it was never up. It was always waiting inside. You work from the roof to the floor in an order that can never be reversed. A mistake near the top can ruin everything below it, so you do not make mistakes. For years, maybe decades, the hill slowly becomes a temple beneath your chisels. When it is done, it will be twice the size of a Greek temple, cut from one rock. 200,000 tons of stone will have been cut away by hand and carried off. But how do you carve a mountain with no machines at all? Your tools are simple: iron chisels, iron hammers, wooden mallets, and stone pounders. India's ironsmiths are among the finest in the world, and their tools hold a brutal edge. To split a giant block, you cut a line of small holes into the stone. Then you drive in wooden wedges and soak them with water until they swell. The swelling wood pushes with silent, patient force until the rock splits along your line. Stone, it turns out, can be broken by nothing more than wood, water, and time. Then comes the slow work, chip, 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 from sunrise to sundown. A single ornate pillar can take one carver many months to finish. You rough out the shape with heavy blows, then refine it with finer and finer tools. The finest details, a god's smile, a dancer's fingers, take tiny picks and endless patience. There is no eraser in stone. Every line is permanent the instant it is made. So you measure with cords and rods again and again before you ever strike. The whole surface is covered in a web of chalk lines and careful guide marks. Miss by a finger's width on a face, and the whole figure looks wrong forever. This is why temple building is not a job. It is a devotion. You are never carving alone. A great temple is an army of thousands. There are quarrymen, haulers, masons, carvers, sculptors, and water carriers. There are cooks to feed you and priests to bless every stage of the work. Feeding this many workers for years on end is itself a massive feat. Whole villages exist just to supply the temple with food, tools, and hands. A king pours a fortune into the work, sometimes the wealth of an entire kingdom. You rise before dawn, eat simply, and work until the light fails. Your body pays the price: dust in your lungs, chips in your skin, aching hands. The work is dangerous, and not everyone who starts a temple lives to see it finished. But there is pride here, too. You are shaping something that will outlive everyone you know. Generations of carvers may live and die on the very same temple. Your father may have started the wall your son will one day finish. And slowly, impossibly, it rises. For temples built block by block, the great challenge is lifting stone into the sky. You have no cranes, so you build the one machine that never fails, the ramp. You raise a long earthen slope and drag each stone up it on rollers and sledges. Hundreds pull together on the ropes, chanting to keep their rhythm. Elephants add their strength where human muscle alone is not enough. To crown the tallest towers, you must lift a capstone as heavy as a house. Legend says one great capstone was rolled up a ramp miles long to reach the top. When the final stone locks into place, the tower is complete and the crowd roars. Often the great blocks are joined with no mortar at all, only perfect fit and gravity. Some temples are held together by iron clamps hidden deep inside the stone. But a temple is far more than clever engineering. To you, it is a living body. The tower is a sacred mountain reaching from the earth towards the heavens. At its heart lies the smallest, darkest, most important room of all. The inner sanctum, called the womb chamber, where the god is believed to dwell. Everything you carve points inward and upward towards that single sacred point. The whole plan is laid over a sacred diagram, a grid of the cosmos itself. You are not just placing stones, you are building a map of the universe.
Once finished, priests perform a ritual to invite the divine to enter the stone. From that moment, the temple is no longer rock, it is holy, alive, and eternal. And you, the builder, stay mostly nameless, a hand that shaped a god's house. That is the quiet heartbreak of your craft. You build forever and are forgotten fast. But your work is not confined to one temple. Across the land, your craft raises wonders. Travel south, and you enter the land of towering temples of granite. Here, a great emperor raises a temple whose tower climbs over 200 feet high. It is built not of soft stone, but of granite, one of the hardest rocks on earth. And there's a problem. No granite exists anywhere near the temple site. Every massive block must be quarried far away and hauled across the land. Rivers become highways, and thousands of hands move mountains one cart at a time. The whole temple is finished in only a handful of years, an astonishing pace. Its walls are covered in carvings, and in something rarer still, written records. The temple records its dancers, its musicians, its priests, and its treasures in stone. It is not only a house of God, it is the beating economic heart of the kingdom. Later, southern builders raise enormous gateway towers, crowded with countless figures. These gateways grow so tall they can be seen from far across the plains. A southern temple is not one building, but a walled city of shrines, halls, and towers. You could spend a lifetime inside one and never carve the same figure twice. By the sea, other masters carve temples and chariots straight out of standing boulders. Whole shrines are cut from single rocks, like giant toys left behind by the gods. On one vast cliff, they carve an entire story, gods, sages, and a river from heaven. Life-sized elephants march across the stone, so real you expect them to breathe. It is the same daring idea as your mountain temple. Release what is already inside the rock. Across India, your craft keeps asking the same bold question: what is hiding in this rock? Far to the east, on a wind-swept coast, builders attempt something almost mad. They carve an entire temple in the shape of a giant chariot for the sun god. 24 great stone wheels line its base, each one taller than a man. And the wheels are not just decoration, they are working sundials that tell the time. 7 carved horses strain to pull the whole temple across the sky. It is engineering and poetry fused into one single colossal sculpture. To hold such a giant together, builders hide iron beams deep within the stone. It is so ambitious that much of it will one day fall, defeated by its own scale. But even in ruin, it will leave the world breathless 1,000 years later. Elsewhere, builders trade hardness for detail, carving in a soft, dark stone. This stone is soft when fresh, so you can carve it like wood, and it hardens over time. So they carve details so fine it looks impossible, jewelry and lace in solid rock. Pillars are turned perfectly round, as if spun on a lathe, yet cut entirely by hand. The pillars sit on star-shaped platforms, offering endless surfaces to decorate. Every inch swarms with gods, beasts, dancers, and stories, carved in dizzying depth. And here, remarkably, some carvers do something rare. They sign their own work. After centuries of anonymous hands, a few artists finally carve their names into history. In the north, builders raise clusters of soaring towers from warm, golden sandstone. Their spires rise in rippling peaks like a range of stone mountains crowded together. Their walls are covered with thousands of graceful figures, full of life and motion. Each region carves in its own style, its own stone, its own vision of the divine. Yet all of them share one obsession, turning plain rock into pure wonder. Now return to your own life, high on the face of your mountain temple. This work asks everything of you: your strength, your youth, and often your health. A slip of the chisel, a fall from a tower, a shift of stone, the dangers never end. There are no machines to protect you, only your skill and your caution. You will likely never be rich. Your reward is rice, shelter, and a place in the guild. But you carry something no coin can buy, the pride of a maker of eternal things. When your hands grow too old to carve, you teach, passing the secrets forward. And one day, your chisel falls silent for the very last time. Your name may vanish, but your gods, your towers, and your stone will remain. That was the bargain of your craft all along. Trade your name for what never dies. And here is the astonishing part: they did not die. Your temples are still standing today, 1,000 years and more after your last breath. They survived invasions, earthquakes, monsoons, and the slow grinding of time. The mountain you carved into a god still draws crowds from across the world. People stand where you stood and cannot believe it was made by human hands. Some even insist it must have been magic or gods or something not of this earth. But you know the truth. It was not magic. It was people, patient, brilliant, ordinary people. It was wood, water, iron, and time, guided by hands that simply refused to quit. The real wonder was never the stone. It was the people who dared to carve it. You were one of them, a builder of the impossible. You lived as an ancient Indian temple builder, born into stone, sworn to proportion, devoted to making the eternal. You turned mountains into temples, and temples into the memory of a whole civilization. The next time you see one of these temples, look closer at the stone. Every line was somebody's whole life given to something greater than themselves. If this amazed you even half as much as it amazes me, subscribe for more Lost Worlds. And tell me in the comments, could you have carved a mountain into a god?